So it's in his blacksmith shop sometime during the year of 1809. There's a group of Cherokee hanging out in his blacksmith shop, and he says, we could create a writing system. We could put our words on paper. And so in 1809, he began a 12-year journey in trying to create the writing system. We know he tries different types of writing systems like hieroglyphics. He's creating all these symbols. He can't remember what all the symbols mean, and if he's creating it and can't remember it, the Cherokee people would never learn it and never remember it. And so he realized that wasn't going to work. So there's a multitude of stories, one of which I kind of forgot about is why this place is also, Sequoyah learns to blacksmith here, but he also, I believe the spark starts here. He's living 1.25 miles. There's a period reference to him living 1.25 miles from 9 Mile Creek in the Tennessee. That's here. So he's living somewhere within 1.25 miles of this spot. And so he would be coming into the factory to trade. He would business, whatever. This would have been a place he would have come to frequently. And so it's here that I believe that Sequoyah sees the officers, and you're actually in the officers' quarters. The offices, and I believe the quarters were above it. So it would have been this building where he saw officers writing orders, writing letters, reading books, and he would have witnessed it right here. And he kind of starts to think about it. He's impressed at the fact that the officer write out an order on a piece of paper, Captain Smith be at the forks of the river on Wednesday with a company of men. And on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, there's Captain Smith and 100 guys, his company, at the forks of the river because that little piece of paper told him to. And so he kept pondering on that. And that, like I say, that must be somewhere around 1809 because it's 1809 he announces, we could create one, I could create one, we'll work on one. And so, kind of the big deal is, well, why he creates a writing system. Well, in 5,000 years of human records, in all those records, no one has ever created a writing system by themselves who was illiterate. Sequoyah never went to any of the missionary schools, never learned to read or write English, German, Latin, and being illiterate over that 12-year period, he created the Sequoyah Syllabary. Now, he creates his Sequoyah Syllabary, and it's, my hero, Sam Houston, will say that Sequoyah's creation of the Cherokee alphabet meant more to the Cherokee than 2 bags of gold for every Cherokee. And so he got it, and he's smart, but he missed it. It's not an alphabet, it's a syllabary. We take our letters and put them together to create, not yet. Syllables, sounds. We put the sounds together to create the word creates the sentence, sentences create paragraphs. So he didn't take that one more step and say, okay, that symbol and this symbol will go together to make la. He just took one symbol that looks to us as English readers and writers as a W, that is la. So he just took the syllable, the sound. And so it was really easy for the Cherokee to learn the language, to learn the writing system, because they grew up speaking it. And so you just had to practice out. And what we feel like in the early days, you see this just a row of syllables. And some of the Cherokee readers and writers, that was a sentence. Today, there's words that they can't figure out. They can figure out a lot of the sentence, but they don't. There's some words that they have no meaning to it. Don't understand what it is. And so what we feel is that they would learn that sentence, and you would write that sentence over and over again, and you pick up the sound and the symbol, and then you can start reading and writing, and the more you read and write, you become better at it. So it was very quick and easy for the Cherokee people to learn it. So it spread very quickly. And within Cherokee culture, if I learn something, I'm responsible for go teach somebody that. So it expanded. There's pockets of very traditional Cherokees that they didn't want to learn it. They started learning it by the 1830s, almost 6 years 9 years after Sequoyah had created the writing system. They're learning it in the 1830s, and why? So they can read the newspaper and find out what's going on with the removal, the Cherokee removal. And so, now to take a little bit of step back, you have those very traditional Cherokees that looked at Sequoyah and he's crazy, he's insane. If the Creator had wanted us to read and write, we'd already be able to read and write. So he's wasting his time. And so that leads to rumors. The Cherokees had always had laws. Before the Europeans ever showed up, they had their own laws. They were oral laws. And so as a Cherokee boy and girl, you were taught the law as you grew up, so you knew what proper behavior was. And one of those laws was that you could be put to death for witchcraft, casting spells, doing evil. And so these traditionals and some of the other Cherokee, Cherokee have the gossipers just like we've got gossipers. And so they start gossiping about the fact he's casting spells. He's doing something evil. He's making these strange marks on paper, and that's not right. And so those rumors start going around. They get to the elders, and the elders sent word to Sequoyah saying, hey, you need to come before us. We want to see what you're up to. So his youngest daughter, Aoka, she's about 6 to 12 years old, and Sequoyah go to where the elders are. And it was a courthouse, Cherokee courthouse down in Georgia. And so they get there, they take little Aoka and they carry her off so she can't see, hear, or know what's said. And so Sequoyah starts talking to one of the elders. I'll pick on you. And so the elder starts talking, and as he's speaking in Cherokee, Sequoyah's writing down every word he says using his syllabary. Well, when they get finished, they bring little Aoka back, and they hand her this piece of paper, and she reads word for word what the elder had told Sequoyah, and it's with that, it proves, most of all, this isn't evil. This is incredible. We can put our words on paper. And so with that test, there were a group of warriors that were there, and they would have been responsible for executing Sequoyah and Aoka if they'd have found them to be witches. And so the warriors come up to Sequoyah and said, teach us. We want to learn to read and write in our language. And as tradition says, they went over, sat down, and he started teaching them to read and write in Cherokee. And so those guys, or those warriors, would have gone off and taught others. Down in Georgia, the estimates I've seen are anywhere from 92, 95, even 98% of the Cherokee in the Cherokee Nation in North Georgia could read and write in Cherokee. If you went to the east, to the white counties, about 17% of them could read and write in English. So I think I covered pretty much everything. Is there any questions or anything about Sequoyah? Or for those that just came, I'm Charlie from Sequoyah Birthplace Museum, the manager director over there. So I've worked over there 20 years, 23 years, and so I know a little bit about Sequoyah.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
So what was the size of the syllabary? How many symbols?
That's one of the things I missed. Sequoyah goes through and he finds, I didn't tell the story. That's just the story that, he's influenced here and thinks about trying to create the writing system. It's that building. That's the officers' quarters where he would have seen them writing orders. He tries different types of writing systems, hieroglyphics, others. It doesn't work. He realizes it's not working for him or the Cherokee people. And my favorite story, there's a multitude of how he figures it out, but my favorite is he's just sitting and listening. Come on. They always stop singing. He was listening to the birds sing. Okay, come on, sing a little bit. I don't know why they do that.
This happens every time.
Yeah, it just goes.
They go quiet.
Everybody's like, maybe I've got them mesmerized by my storytelling. But he's listening to the birds sing one day, and he's listening to the song. He hears repetitive sounds in the song, so he starts thinking about it. Well, what about the sound of the Cherokee language? So he starts listening to his family, his friends, his neighbors. He starts pulling those little repetitive sounds that he hears in the language, and he starts giving them symbols. And what Sequoyah finds is 87 sounds in the Cherokee language that he creates a symbol for. Now the symbols are created in his own mind by his own hand. As soon as you make a rule, you look at his syllabary, he saw a sheet of music. I think he liked the clef symbol. that little nice sweeping S, you know. So that's in there. There's it looks like a 6. Looks like a cursive H, an as, but the other symbols are just very flowing symbols. And some say he got his influences from butterfly wings or insects, animals, that he would create those symbols. Others say because he was a silversmith, and a lot of it looks like the engraving you would see on a flintlock or a gorget. So I think it's both. You know, I think he's influenced. It takes in a lot of information and is influenced. Now, what happens? His symbols, as I mentioned, he finishes in 1821, and the test takes place there in Georgia. The nation quickly adopts it as the official writing system of the Cherokee Nation, and then they tell Elias Bootnott, "We want you to go buy a printing press. We want to communicate as a nation." And early on when I was researching, it's about communicating as the Cherokee people. But once I actually started digging in to the Cherokee Phoenix and Elias Bootnott and the people involved with the printing press, it wasn't just to communicate as the nation, it was to communicate with the world. They wanted to tell the world what was happening in removal. And what was going on in the nation. And so they would actually, when they got the press up and running, they would send the newspapers to the New York Times, to the Washington Post, to the London Gazette. They would send their papers all around the world. And what you did is, if somebody sent them your newspaper, they would turn around and send their newspaper to you. One of the reproduction phoenixes I have, on the front page, down on the front page at the bottom column, is a story about cannibalism in the Canary Islands. What does that have to do with the Cherokee people? Nothing. The printer, Elias Bootnott, I need a story to fill that hole. Ooh, remember the cannibal story? That was good. Let's put it there. So, and so what happens, Elias Bootnott goes off to buy the printing press, and he finds out very quickly they can't afford to buy the press because Sequoyah symbols don't exist anywhere. So for all the different sizes of type that you have to make, you would have to make matrices, the moles, the matrices to make all that type. And the type's very cursive, very flowing. And my friend Brian Baker, that's been teaching me about the printing press that we have over at the museum, he was looking at it one day when we were working on the press, and he said they would have never made this into type because it's too thin. There's syllables that they would flatten out in short time, and you wouldn't be able to read it. And so what happens is Elias Bootnott and Reverend Samuel Wooster actually adapts Sequoyah symbol to symbols. If we look at the syllabary chart, we would recognize them. There's W's and D's and upside down 4s, upside down L's, J's. There's Greek symbols. There's my favorite symbol is it's actually on its side. It's got looks like an O with a T top laying on its side. If you turned it to where the T was on the top, that's the symbol for the Tejas, who are the Mexicans that support Texas independence. It's also found in it's found in the Korean writing system, and it's also found in the Russian Cyrillic system. So that symbol existed, those moles, those matrices existed. We can just turn it on its side, make it look different. So there's upside down stuff. There's stuff we'll add a line to make it look different. There's a few symbols that don't exist anywhere else in the world, and that makes it uniquely Cherokee. And so in taking the Sequoyah symbols and putting them into the printing press syllabary, they drop one. So it goes from 87 that Sequoyah has to 86. Then a bunch of the speakers for years said, oh, we're going to drop one of those. We're not going to use it. And so it goes to 85. But recently the Speakers Guild has actually reinstated that sound back into the syllabary. So now there's back to 86. So nothing's ever simple with the Cherokee. So I think I answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming over to the Blockhouse today. This has been an awesome weekend. You know, being for me here at the place where, you know, the spark starts, where he learns to blacksmith, you know, that starts him on that path to creating the writing system. And so if you get a chance, Sequoyah Birthplace Museum, we're open 12 to 5 today. Any other day it's 9 to 5. So please come by and pay us a visit, and love to have you come, tell you more about Sequoyah.